everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. This video is on a brand that really has been around a long time. It's frequently in the mix when I'm talking about makeup, but here lately I've just been putting a real focus on it. I'm talking about Wet n Wild, and I've just been wanting to try different things that I've maybe been overlooking lately, really get in tune with their eye products, and just really get on top of it. I think it all started when I saw somebody on TikTok do a look that was just an everyday person. It wasn't really like a makeup artist, but she was using mostly Wet n Wild, and I thought, man, that look turned out amazing. And it just kind of made me dive back into A, some of the things I had, and B, want to try some things that I maybe had overlooked for a while, because Wet n Wild is a brand that tends to reinvent itself time after time. For example, their eyeshadows. I remember when they got into that original Comfort Zone palette. I've talked about this a lot. Earlier days of my YouTube channel, they put out those 8-pan palettes, and it was like, okay, they raised the bar for the quality of eyeshadow in the drugstore with that product. And now things have changed a little bit, but I do think they're still doing some really good things. So it's going to be a full face, so we better go ahead and get started. I'm going to use this Impossible Primer. This is a newer product from Wet n Wild, and it says the one silicone-free primer that does it all. It says mattifies, hydrates, and blurs pores. Also preps skin for lasting makeup. I will say first off, it's really funny how it's like not liquidy at all. It comes out in a little gel tube. There is a creaminess to it, but also it is kind of clear, but they do say silicone free. And the thing that I don't see this doing at all is really, I don't see it doing anything for the pores. Maybe some people notice that, and for me, I don't feel like pores are a massive problem, but I know what happens when a primer sort of disguises pores. I see it with the Laura Geller Spackle Mattify, or like Benefit Porefessional. I kind of know what to look for, and this doesn't do that. I do feel like it hydrates a little bit, and I don't really see much mattifying. So this is kind of one of those Wet n Wild products that has me a little bit perturbed. I think it makes my skin feel extra nicely prepped before the makeup because it's adding a little smoothness and moisture to my skin, but it's not really doing, for me anyway, all the things on the list. I don't see it mattifying, and I don't see it doing anything for blurring the pores. And I've been messing around with this for a while. I've really been giving it a fair shot, but this is one of those things in this video where I'm not totally sold on it. Now, for foundation, I know I've talked about really enjoying the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Dewy Foundation. It's packaged just like this. It just says Dewy on it. I'll have to link to a recent video where that was applied. I feel like it gives kind of a natural glow to the skin. It's not over the top dewy, but it's really pretty. I feel like it has a strong medium coverage to it. Also, if you're wanting something lighter, this stuff right here, the Tinted Hydrator, I've also used this in the past in a video, and I think this is really good as well. I wear it in the shade Light, and even though this is a light coverage product, like, it looks beautiful on the skin. I'm really impressed with this. Only thing to note, it does not have SPF, and a lot of people I think look to a product like this to have some sun protection, but it does not. It does have hyaluronic acid, squalane, and it is oil free. They say sheer to medium coverage, so it is a little bit buildable. But today in this video, I'm going to be using the Photo Focus, just the regular foundation. This shade is Soft Beige, and I think it is a really good shade match for me. And I'd kind of forgotten how nice just the regular version of this is. I've mentioned the Dewy more recently, but this one is really good as well, and I like the staying power very much. So we've got a little paddle style applicator here. It can be kind of hard to tell when you're using an applicator like this as opposed to just pumping some out, like exactly how much is getting on my skin. Am I way over applying or what? But I just kind of go with it and get some swipes all over. But you know what I mean? Like with a pump, okay, I use one pump of this foundation. That's all it takes. I'm going to use my Beauty Blender to blend this in. And if I'm feeling like overall having a more matte look, this would be the foundation that I would choose from the line. And I do think perhaps it might have even better staying power. I've just been watching this one real close over the last few days, and I've been very impressed with that aspect of it. And have you ever noticed how some products change for you over time, like as your skin changes, or even simply as the seasons change and your skin kind of develops less of a need for this or that, or more of a need for this or that? Sometimes foundations that didn't absolutely wow you in the past can start working better for you here or there. But look at this. I've got this all blended in. And this is going to be one of those foundations that runs you under $5 at the drugstore. So very impressive. Just making sure I've got it all blended in around the hairline, but that's a really like super on point shade match for me. I'm very happy with that. I have recently talked about the Incognito concealer. Great product for under $5. I'm wearing it in light beige. And with this one, I would say not quite as good as e.l.f. Camo Concealer. It's got good staying power, it looks nice on the skin, but the coverage just isn't quite as high, and it's only off like a couple bucks from that, you know? But if I do have this and I want to wear this, I find that just a little extra application compared to what I would do with e.l.f. makes me very satisfied with this product, okay? See how I'm not just doing dots, I'm doing some actual swipes of this. And then a few dots out here to cover melasma. We can brighten up here. A little bit for redness around the nose and a little brightness on the chin, okay? Especially if you're going to use a sponge to blend this in, I think you can really get away with what I've just done here, this extra application. Sponges always take just a little bit of coverage, I think. And here, as I blend this out, it's all working for me because I applied a little extra. So this process is leaving me just about perfect there, okay? Nice brightness, nice coverage. Tabbing in. See, isn't makeup interesting like that? Like I can get nearly the same effect as I get with e.l.f., but just apply a little bit more. I must say though, I do love the satisfaction of using e.l.f. Camo Concealer knowing that a couple of dots takes me exactly where I need to go. From a value perspective, it probably is the better value because I'm using a lot less of it and it's only like $1 more. And they also have the two different versions, the hydrating or the regular. But anyway, if we're sticking to Wet n Wild, I can definitely get that Incognito concealer to a place where I really like it just by applying a little bit extra, and that Beauty Blender application just ends up getting me to a really good place. Here's a product I rarely hear anyone talk about from Wet n Wild, but I think it's actually really, really good. I mean, this is on my list of good drugstore loose powders. The Wet n Wild Photo Focus Translucent Powder. Big old container of it, by the way, big. They just call it loose setting powder. I think it works great. It doesn't look too heavy on the skin. It kind of assists with your brightening efforts, you know? Doesn't dull your skin down. I'm just taking my small tapered brush and dabbing it around this zone. And hitting the T-zone as well. I mean, it's very mattifying for sure. I wouldn't call this even like a natural finish powder. It's a very matte powder, but applied lightly on the under eye, and even me getting up close to it, like I don't think it has a chalky, cakey look at all. I think you just, as with any powder, you can over apply almost any powder, you know, so you've got to pace yourself a little bit. You want to stay kind of light with the application and go in with a little on your brush at a time as you might build it in different areas. But it works very well, and I think this is a big contributor to why I've had good staying power with the foundation, because I've been wearing it with this. Next up, we've got a Rockstar product from Wet n Wild that is really something I'm wanting to use regardless of what makeup brand or whether I'm using drugstore high-end makeup. Like, this is the MVP walking in. This is like the main player everyone's excited to see come strutting in. Okay, and now, Wet n Wild Color Icon Bronzer. The shade is Wet Shady Beaches. Kind of funny. This is a good, rich tone. It's easy to apply. It's easy to blend. Doesn't go on streaky, and it gives you like an immediate tan. I really, really like it. See that one half of my forehead now getting a tan. This is one of those bronzers that has a slight bit of a satiny finish. I think that makes the finish of it look super natural on the skin. You know, it's not glowy, but yet very, very natural, something about it. Do a quick contour with it. Also, you guys, I've had some questions about the Saved by the Bell limited edition collection, and I will make some mentions of that at the end of the video. I didn't want this video to be all about a limited edition collection. I kind of wanted it to be something people could come to and be like, I want to learn more about products from Wet n Wild, and they would be lasting, existing products from in the line, you know? But I will talk about that a little bit. Funny enough, on E! all weekend long, there was a Saved by the Bell marathon, and the girls kind of started watching it, and they're very into it now. They know all the characters. We're already planning Halloween costumes. And I think I'm gonna have to be either Slater or Screech, so really nice bronzer. I definitely love that stuff. Now for blushes, Wet n Wild has actually kept some of the same shades for a long time in their line, but packaging has changed. So we still have Mellow Wine. I remember when that was packaged differently. I really like this shade. It's a matte blush. It's got that deeper kind of rosy tone to it. It's very nicely pigmented, but yet you don't have to be crazy careful with it. Like, it's not off the charts, but it looks beautiful on the skin. I love that one. And then I also have Pearlescent Pink, which is much lighter and it does have a slight glow to it. I'm going to use that one today. I'm going to pick some up with my e.l.f. blush brush. Just applying it right in here. See that? Nice and soft pinky blush. I can see that glow that it's giving me very much. Definitely nowhere near as glowy as like a Beauty Bakery Cotton Candy Champagne blush, but gorgeous and a slight bit of glow. Either one of these, a great option. Now I know Wet n Wild's highlighters have been really popular. I have the one here. It's the Mega Glow Highlighting Powder in Precious Petals. And it looks like this. And if you look at like a really concentrated swatch of it, we're seeing a very traditional highlighter kind of tone. Light, shimmery, a little bit of like champagne-y warmth. I'm just using my Real Techniques setting brush here. And we're going to pop that on the cheek. So a lot of glowy potential here. You can wear it lightly. You're not going to get big chunks, big hunks and flecks of glitter. It just makes the surface of the skin glow. I dig it. I mean, look what it's doing for our matte situation we had underneath here, and now we're able to add that glow where we want it, but the surface of our skin does not feel tacky or sticky at all. Little on the Cupid's bow there. Outside of that primer, which I just didn't feel like, it's not a bad primer, but I don't think it delivered on every claim. Kind of outside of that, I've really loved the way these complexion products have come together. For my coverage, you know, the foundation, the concealer, the powder, those were fantastic. And then we start bringing in the color with the blush, bronzer, highlight. Their powder formula is working really nicely for me. Also, more recently, I decided to retest out a setting spray. I think I tried some that had some very specific scents, like there was a rose and a coconut or something like that. But here I just got the Natural Finish Photo Focus Setting Spray. I can't believe the fan of spray here. Like, one spray feels like it covers my entire face. Check it out. Perfectly fine mist. I can feel it on the sides of my cheeks. I can feel it from my forehead to my chin. Isn't that crazy? It's such a good mist. Just maybe a lightly fresh scent on this. I would say just kind of a fresh and clean scent, but they had a matte one. I just got the Natural Finish one because I thought generally I'm wanting something that I can spray on, and it just makes the surface of my skin look a little more, you know, naturally radiant. So I told you guys I was going to do this for brows. I wanted to try their retractable Ultimate Brow retractable brow pencil. I have it in ash brown. It's kind of a thicker tipped pencil. Okay, they've tried to form it into sort of a shape. I'll get to that in a second. I didn't love this one, the Browcessive. It's just a regular pencil with a spoolie on the other end. Kind of sort of dry, don't love the way it works, but their Browcessive Brow Shaping Gel is pretty good. I've actually about used that up. But this pencil, they're kind of going for a teardrop shape with it. I think it's focused in here, but when I first used it, it had quite like a point toward the top, and now that's fading a little bit as I've used it, but it does kind of get through the brows fairly quickly. You know, the size and shape, depending on the way you rotate it in your hand, you can use sort of a thicker amount of product or a thinner amount. And I would say it's functioning better for me for sure than the little Browcessive pencil. Do I like it better than e.l.f. Instant Lift? Not necessarily. e.l.f. Instant Lift is just a real, like, no gimmicks kind of pencil, I guess, and I kind of appreciate that. Oh, spoolie on the other end. It's just a very standard shape and size. They didn't try to turn it into a different shape. It just works for what it is, and that's probably still my favorite, but from Wet n Wild, from this brand, I think this would be the superior brow fill-in thing. Again, the shade I'm using is Ash Brown. Anytime I use an ash brown colored product, I think of some random, like I think it was an eyeshadow somewhere along the line that I used that was named Nice Ash. Biddy's first day of pre-K today. Oh my goodness. Pre-K is only in the morning hours, 8 to almost 11. I really think she's gonna get along great, but you know, just starting new stuff like this makes me a little nervous. I know what can happen at pre-K drop-off, let's just put it that way. So I got that all through the brows. I feel nicely filled in, and now I'm gonna take my Brow-Cessive gel, which has a nice little, you know, tiny brush. Shade is brown. And this will just give me a little extra hold and some tint as well. I am about out of it, but it's still working for me. I can still feel that hold. Okay, brows check. I forgot to grab a Wet n Wild eye primer, so I'm going to use my Believe Beauty because it's a little less expensive than the Milani, and I just feel like Wet n Wild as a whole is less expensive than Milani, so this runs you $4.50, the Lock It In eyeshadow primer using the Universal shade, and it really is a nice eye primer. I like it a lot. Kind of blanks out the lid, discoloration. It's just a little harder to spread across the skin than my Milani, you know, like you get it on the lid and then it's hard to take it much further unless you want to bring in more product. Let's chat for a moment about the latest layout of the Wet n Wild Color Icon eyeshadows. They have 10-pan and 5-pan palettes. So the 10-pan palettes that I have are Heart and Soul. This is a really pretty, like, warm eyeshadow look. Just knowing that there's sort of peachiness and also berry in this makes me think of Modern Renaissance, even though, you know, probably 100% it's not a full-on Modern Renaissance dupe, but it gives you that kind of a look. And I find that the pigmentation in these palettes is really good, but it's not overwhelming me. I mean, Comfort Zone, going back again to those 8-pan palettes, there was such a softness in those eyeshadows, and it made them really easy to like pick up on a brush, and of course they showed up really well on your eyes. But in some ways, the deeper shades, it could almost be an overwhelming amount of softness, you know, and these I feel are user-friendly. I've been playing with these palettes a lot lately, really learning about them. There might be a shade in one of these where I'm like, ooh, it's a little bit finicky, but overall I'm really enjoying them. Great mattes and some nice shimmers as well. So I think that's a really pretty color scheme. You know if that's your jam or not. One that I think would be really universally loved is the one called Nude Awakening, and I did apply this in a recent video, so I'll link to it, but I'm very drawn to this one. I love the versatility. You've got really dark shades here to help anchor your look or act as eyeliners. I love the burgundy shade in here. We've got some rose gold, some soft copper, easy ways to set up your crease, but then, you know, boom, you can bring in the depth, make it a very special occasion look real quick, or keep it something kind of more light and natural. I love this one. This is probably my top favorite one. The one I think I'm going to use today is one that I don't hear quite so much about, but it'll give me a nice opportunity to chat about some of the different textures, and it's called Lights Off. I got this one most recently. It's got a deep green, which I love, so I love how dark these can go. We do have one of those finicky shades here where it's like, okay, it's sort of sheer. It doesn't pick up amazingly with the brush, but it can look beautiful on the eyes. If you're willing to just like dab it on with a finger, it looks nice. But we have kind of this cool sort of stony row, and then we have this little bit more like earthy looking top part, if you know what I mean. You can do any combination of it, but I do sort of see two distinct color schemes there that could be very smoky. And then with the 5-pan palettes, they've redone Walking on Eggshells again. Walking on Eggshells was originally a trio, and then another version of repackaging, you know, they were kind of like little rectangular ones, and there were some different shapes and sizes, and I think it had become a quad, and now here we are, a 5-pan palette. It's probably, honestly, the most well-rounded version of Walking on Eggshells that we've seen. We have this matte here, these two mattes rather, and then shimmers right in here, and it does give you like the same kind of feel as Walking on Eggshells with 1, 2, 3, but then you do have those two basic mattes to make it a more full, well-rounded look. I used this just a couple days ago and absolutely adored the look. If you like warmth and shimmer and kind of a coppery thing going on, this one is called Go Commando. They've got that beautiful copper shimmer, and then this interesting shade that almost makes me think a little bit of a greenish shimmer twist. It's really pretty. I love these two basic warm mattes that you've got on this end, so that's a pretty option as well. And then Petalette, which I think immediately I wasn't super wowed by this one. What shade was kind of letting me down? Maybe this kind of rosy shade here. I don't know if I was struggling with that at one point, but here recently I've used it again and I'm thinking, you know, for a plum eyeshadow lover, this is a pretty nice palette actually. I glance at it and I see, okay, I can set up my crease a couple of different ways. I've got a nice dark shade and I've got a couple of light shimmers too. So I've been, again, putting a lot of focus on these products in the last couple of weeks, and I really do like what's happening with Wet n Wild's eyeshadows. So again, we're gonna do lights off today, and how do I wanna start this? I think I'm gonna begin by taking this kind of coppery shade right here and popping that in the crease. Now it does have some shimmer, but it's going to sheer out when we use it with a brush like this. So it could go on very, very full, like brown shimmer on your lid if you wanted it to be that way, but we're softening that out. Nice. See how you really kind of have to focus in close on this to even know that it's a shimmer in the way I'm putting it on? I'm just shearing it out. I'm going even above where my brush initially went now, letting it come up there and just lightly shear out. Okay, very nice, love that. And then we'll use this light pearly shade right here. Really nice texture on these shimmers. Except that one little wild card in there, which, I mean, it's like the ornery little kid where you're like, you're pushing my buttons, but ultimately I love you. Okay, now I want to give you some green here. I do love this matte green in this palette. So I'm picking some up with my brush and then I'm tapping off a little excess. And I'm going to begin dabbing it on my outer corner. And it just goes on like a dream. I mean, I feel like it's plenty pigmented enough, but it's not giving me fallout. Getting it right up into that crease. Go pick up a little more. Oh, I love a forest green. This is going to be a more muted green look than the e.l.f. one. I guess that was my last video, wasn't it? In case you missed it, I used that e.l.f. Hot Jalapeno quad in my last video, and it really turned out bright. So if you're like, yeah, I'm all for green, but I want it to be a little softer, this may be your look. So I'm kind of getting that on the outer lid, wedging it up to my crease. And then here's where I kind of like to take maybe a smaller brush, teeny bit of color on it, and really target that crease area now. And you can begin to maybe shape it a little more, go a little higher, a little more outward. This small pointed brush from Profusion, I really believe it needs to be in everyone's collection. It's affordable and it's control in your hand. You know, you can totally take that shadow wherever you want it. See how I just gently shaped that and it looks more finished. You know, I really don't know what I'd do without this brush. It is the second coming of the Essence of Beauty fine crease brushes, you know. If you know what I'm talking about with what I just said there, you have been with me from the stone ages of my channel. I just can't get over the pretty like fade of this. It looks expensive, that's what it looks like, you know. And by the way, I may have buried the lead on this, but all these 10 color palettes are $4 and change, and the other ones are like right around $3. And frankly, I feel like their 5-pan palettes here are more well-rounded, really, color-wise than most of the e.l.f. bite-sized quads. Just with the addition of the 5th shade, I think they were pretty thoughtful about the shades they included, and it really does make for a nice, full look. I've also mentioned recently those little new Catrice 5-in-a-box shadows are really nice as well. So here, just taking that brush that has the green on it, and I'm taking it down under. I love this green because, yes, it is green. It's not screaming at you, but it's such a pretty forest green. If you're hesitant on color, I really think you can do this, guys. To me, I think this is a real non-intimidating way to incorporate a little bit of color. So now we're going to play with the lid, get some of that darkness off my brush. And I want to show you an attempt at putting this shade on with my brush. And it's like, can you see what that color is? It looks like a light beige shimmer, but then I turn it, there's like a little hint of that greenish iridescence. You know when shades have that little bit of tinge of green that makes them look like almost glow in the dark or something? All right, I've really picked up some on my brush. I'm getting like a sheer fairy dust look right there. All right, so that's what I don't love about it. But then just take a finger and then look. And just ever so slightly start to overlap that green. It's heaven now. See, I can't be mad at that. It's truly like the one shade I'm running into out of all these eyeshadows I've talked about that is this way, where it really needs me to use my finger. That's not a terrible thing. A finger's just the tool God gave you, you know? But just like put it on with a patting motion and let it slightly come over that green, and I tell you what, it's so pretty. And then we still do have another light couple of shimmers you could use. One is more like, ooh, icy, silvery, and the other has that light champagne look. So the sparkle in this is really, really fine, and I mean, I wouldn't even call it glitter. It's a fine shimmer. It's just dazzling. I really like that. Then I'm wanting to take a little bit of this guy and maybe pop that around the inner corner. Bring a little love and light right in there, huh? Next up, I do need to pull in one non-Wet n Wild thing, my ABH double-ended pencil, just because I like that peachy tone matte brightness right in here. It is a Monday, and it is before 6 a.m., so let me do my thing there. Next up, absolute great product from Wet n Wild if you're looking for a liner pen with a brush tip applicator. The staying power is great on this. Blackness is great. Would definitely recommend the Breakup Proof liner pen. You guys have seen me use this for, I don't know, months on my channel, on and off. Why am I curling my lashes? I want to do the liner. Again, it's a brush tip. It's a brush tip. I promise I know what I'm doing. And I'm going to give myself a little wing today. On the wings of love. And I may pull in just a little bit of black eyeshadow just to kind of attach that wing to my lower lash line. Okay, so nice little wing. That's probably as easy as it's going to get for a liquid liner. Like, this is easier than dipping in, you know, that inkwell design. Again, I'm going to go into black, and that black shadow is going to merge perfectly with your black eyeliner. Now I can curl my lashes. And I had to actually repurchase one of these Big Papa mascaras. This is a pretty decent mascara, actually. It works best for me after it's got just a little more age on it. This is like a brand new tube, but I find it builds on itself pretty well. And I mean, I did go through one and repurchase, so it's a pretty good sign, right? The brush, it's a little bit pinched in the middle, but it's more tapered toward the tip than a lot of these hourglass designed brushes, and I appreciate that. It's not so huge that you feel out of control with it, but I'm just getting that on there. And right now it's like looking really natural, but it's the build that'll get you. Do I like this better than the Essence / Princess, like Sculpted Volume, which I feel is the oh no, I got a little bit on there. Essence / Princess Sculpted Volume, that's the closest thing to IT Cosmetics Superhero. This takes me a little more work and time to get on my lashes than that, especially being new like it is. Like, I kind of have to go over it a little extra because the formula is just a teeny bit wetter than I want it to be right now. So I would say no, this is not my favorite drugstore mascara, but it's really good, and it's definitely the best thing Wet n Wild's got. Now, did you see what I had to do there? I gotta go in with some more of that unruly shimmer because I sort of dabbed some away. These things happen. And while those coats are drying, I can do a little Thrive liquid lash extensions on the lower, just because we gotta trust that stuff down there on the lower lash line, don't we? Okay, see what we're working with there? Decent length. I feel like my curl has dropped just a little bit because, you know, like I said, it's still a really wet formula for me right now, and that's just not super conducive to holding the curl. I'm going to move on to lips, and I want to mention the gel lip liners. Hang on. Gel lip liners from Wet n Wild. These go on super duper easily. They don't last quite as well as the Revlon Color Stay lip liners do, but they're still really good and they're real easy to just get all over your lips. So I have the Bear to Comment one, that's going to be your nude, and I also have Lay Down the Mauves, deeper, cooler. So I really like those. I like their Mega Last High Shine formula. I think these are luxurious feeling on the lips. There's a nice amount of shine to them. They feel balmy and nice. The matte formula that's in this packaging, but it's black, that's the formula they need to update because it's got a lot of dryness and a lot of tug across the lips. It makes it hard to apply. You have to press hard, and then it's hard to like ease that onto your lips. You know what I'm saying? And there are a lot better drugstore matte lipsticks out there. They need to make that smoother. What would be great is if they could make a smooth formula that would set kind of the way the Maybelline Superstay Ink crayons do. They also have some old school glosses still, the Mega Slicks lip gloss. You know, I've got one here in Raspberry Voice. Those are nice if you want a shimmery gloss. But what am I going to do today? I think I'm going to do Lay Down the Mauves on my lips. And this just, again, glides right on. I had my nude lip liner from this line for a long time, and it still goes on every bit as easily as it did when it was new. So they really don't like dry out. I'm giving myself just a little space there in the middle so my lipstick can look a little lighter there, but I'm using the Shine formula in Close Off, so kind of a nude look. Pretty, a little bit different tone than I might normally go for. See how it's kind of like a coolish mauve look. Alrighty friends, so that is my finished look from Wet n Wild. As I mentioned, I loved the way the complexion products came together. Like, it's just, isn't it amazing? This is one of your cheaper drugstore brands, and I can do an eye look that I'm completely satisfied with, get coverage on my skin that I absolutely love. Now I wanted to mention a few things from the Saved by the Bell collection that I thought were pretty good. This duo blush, especially the one that has Jessie and Slater on it. I like these tones. I think it's nicely pigmented. It shows up well on the cheeks. A couple of the others I thought were either too light and didn't show up enough, or there was one that looked like kind of highlighter and blush, but the highlighter kind of had some glitter in it. So this one I think is really pretty actually. I like the smell in this setting spray. I can't figure out what it is. I don't know if it's reminding me of like, I don't know, what's in that? Maybe it's reminding me of some kind of like old school cologne a little bit or something, but I do kind of like that. And of the lip kits, they call it a plumping like lip gloss and a liner. Now the liner isn't near as good as the gel liners that they're doing all the time, but if you're wanting like a piece of this collection, I really like the tones in this kit. The one that has Jessie on it, and it's got like a nude, you know, neutral-ish colored gloss and liner. The gloss smells just like bubble gum and has kind of a cooling sensation, so it's sort of nice. So if you're into Saved by the Bell and you want a little piece of that, those are a few little recommendations there. But thank you guys so much for your time today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun, and I will see you again soon. I love you. Bye.